The Malhotra mansion woke before sunrise. Its vast halls remained hushed, wrapped in the pale stillness that arrived just before the world remembered how to move. Soft light slipped through sheer curtains, washing the rooms in muted gold. Dust motes drifted lazily in the air, untouched by urgency, as though time itself had slowed in reverence to the hour. Ananya stood by the window, quietly braiding her hair. Her fingers moved with practiced ease, twisting dark strands into a loose plait that rested against her shoulder. Outside, the garden stretched awake, dew clinging to tender leaves, blades of grass bowing under its weight. The early morning air carried promise, fragile and fleeting, much like her sense of peace. She had begun taking morning walks, not announced, not discussed, just something she did. It was her small rebellion, subtle, harmless, necessary, a way to breathe without permission, a way to claim a corner of the world as her own, untouched by expectations or names she had not chosen. She slipped outside quietly, her footsteps light against the stone path. What she didn't know, what she hadn't sensed yet, was that she was no longer alone in her solitude. From the balcony outside his study, Arjun watched. The mug of coffee in his hand had long gone cold, forgotten entirely, as his gaze followed her slender form moving through the garden. She wore a simple kurta, fabric brushing softly against her frame, her dupatta fluttering behind her with each step, caught playfully by the breeze. She walked slowly, unhurried, unaware. She looked free, and that unsettled him in ways he didn't yet have words for. When had he started noticing these things? The gentle slope of her shoulders as she walked, the way she paused occasionally, lifting her face toward the morning light, how she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, unaware of the attention it drew. His jaw tightened. She was his wife. The thought came unbidden, less a statement, more an instinct. So why did it feel like the world was slowly discovering her? Why did the idea of other eyes following her path spark something sharp and unwelcome in his chest? Arjun took a slow breath, forcing himself to look away. But even as he turned back toward his study, the image stayed with him. Ananya walking freely beneath the rising sun, unaware that she had already begun to occupy a space in his mind he had never intended to give. And that, more than anything else, disturbed him. Breakfast was unusually quiet. Morning sunlight streamed in through tall windows, spilling across the long dining table in soft bands of gold. It glinted off polished silverware and fine porcelain, turning the setting almost ceremonial. Too formal for the silence that sat heavily between them. Ananya sat at one end of the table, a book open before her. She wasn't truly reading. Her fingers traced the edge of the page absent-mindedly as she stirred her tea, the spoon chiming softly against the cup. Steam curled upward, then vanished, unnoticed. Arjun watched her over the rim of his coffee mug. She seemed distant, centered somewhere he wasn't invited. "You're going out alone now?" he asked suddenly. The question cut through the quiet more sharply than he intended. Ananya looked up, startled, not by the words, but by the tone. His voice held an edge she hadn't heard before, something taut, something alert. "Yes," she replied after a beat, choosing her words carefully. "I like walking." The simplicity of the statement only tightened something in him. "It's not safe," he said curtly, setting his cup down, with more force than necessary. Her brows drew together, confusion giving way to irritation. "I've lived my whole life without bodyguards," she said evenly. "I know how to take care of myself." "This isn't your old life," Arjun snapped. You're a malhotra now." The words landed heavier than either of them expected. Ananya's hand stilled mid-motion. Slowly, deliberately, she set her cup down, the porcelain making a soft but final sound against the table. She lifted her eyes to him. "And whose life is it then?" she asked softly. "Mine, or the name I married into?" The question wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable, filling the room with everything they hadn't yet said. Even the servants seemed to disappear, the mansion holding its breath. Arjun opened his mouth, then closed it. In that pause, realization crept in. This wasn't concern. It was control, thinly disguised. He exhaled slowly, rubbing his thumb against the handle of his cup, as if grounding himself. "I don't like the idea of strangers watching you," he said again, quieter now. The edge was gone. What remained was something raw. Her heart skipped, traitorous and fast. For a moment, the words sounded almost intimate. But she didn't miss the implication. "That's not your decision to make," she replied, her voice steady but trembling just enough to betray how deeply the moment had cut. He met her gaze then, truly met it, and for the first time, he saw not defiance, but fear of being erased. For the first time, the argument wasn't about safety, or schedules, or habits. It was about claim, and neither of them was ready to admit what that meant. The foundation visit was meant to be uneventful. That was what Arjun had told himself as the car rolled through the iron gates, the city's noise fading behind manicured lawns and quiet order. This was familiar territory, philanthropy polished for appearances, handshakes practiced, words measured. Control. Ananya stepped out beside him, smoothing her dupatta instinctively. The morning light softened her features, catching in her hair, illuminating a calm that did not belong to this world of agendas and strategy. Almost immediately, people gravitated toward her, not because she demanded attention, but because she listened. She knelt to speak to a child, her smile genuine, her voice gentle. Staff members lingered longer than necessary when she asked questions, real ones, not rehearsed. There was no performance in her kindness. Arjun watched, at first with distant approval, then with something sharper. A young volunteer walked beside her, pointing out a newly painted wall, speaking too animatedly, laughing too freely. When Ananya stumbled slightly on the uneven step, the man reached out instinctively, his hand closing around her arm to steady her. The contact lasted barely a second. It was enough. Arjun moved before thought caught up with instinct. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, his hand wrapping around Ananya's wrist, firm, grounding, unmistakably his. Not rough, but unyielding. "I've got her," he said, his voice calm but cold enough to freeze the air. The volunteer startled, immediately stepping back. Sorry, sir." Arjun didn't acknowledge him again. Ananya looked up at Arjun, eyes wide, not frightened but startled by the sudden proximity, by the heat of his grip. "You're hurting me," she whispered. The words cut through him. He released her at once, his fingers loosening reluctantly, as though part of him resisted letting go. "I didn't," he began, then stopped. The damage was already done. They walked the rest of the visit side by side, silence tight between them. Arjun stayed close, not touching now, but present in a way that felt deliberate, protective, territorial. Ananya felt it, felt him everywhere, in her periphery, in the careful distance he maintained, in the way his gaze never strayed far from her again. That night, the memory followed them home. In the quiet of the bedroom, Ananya sat on the edge of the bed, examining the faint mark his fingers had left behind. It was already fading, barely visible, but the sensation lingered. Arjun stood near the window, restless, his reflection fractured in the glass. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said finally. She didn't look up. "You didn't scare me," she replied softly. "You surprised me." He turned to face her. "That man..." He stopped, jaw tightening. "He shouldn't have touched you." She lifted her gaze then. "He was helping," she said. "And you didn't ask." Silence fell again, heavier this time. "I don't like people touching you," Arjun said, quieter now. The admission sounded dangerously close to truth. Ananya's breath caught. "You don't get to feel that way," she said gently, not unkindly. "You don't get to decide who I belong to." His hands curled slowly at his sides. "That's the problem," he replied, his voice low. "I don't know when I started feeling it." They stood there, separated by inches and uncertainty. That touch, brief, instinctive, had crossed something neither of them could retreat from. And both of them knew this was no longer just a marriage of obligation. It was becoming something else. The rumor reached Ananya without warning. It slipped into the room disguised as casual conversation. Light laughter, lowered voices, sympathy wrapped in politeness. She was standing near a table at a luncheon, fingers curled loosely around a teacup that had long since gone cold, when she heard the name. Tara. The syllables landed softly, almost carelessly. "She's back in the city," someone murmured. They were serious once, weren't they? Ananya's breath stilled. She didn't turn, didn't react. Her gaze remained fixed on the pale curve of porcelain in her hands, as the voices drifted on, blurred and distant, like sound underwater. "They say she still has influence," another voice added. "And with men like him, old habits don't fade?" Ananya excused herself moments later, her smile practiced, her steps measured. She walked through the hallways as though nothing had changed, as though the ground beneath her hadn't shifted. But by the time she reached the car, her chest felt tight. The city outside passed in streaks of motion, but inside her, everything slowed. Memories she had never lived pressed in on her. Shared histories, laughter she had not heard, a past that predated her presence. That night, the mansion felt colder. Ananya stood in the guest room, folding clothes she hadn't planned on packing. Each movement was precise, controlled. She wasn't running, she was preparing. When Arjun entered and saw the half-packed bag on the bed, his expression darkened instantly. "What are you doing?" he asked. She didn't look at him. "I need space," she said calmly. "I won't stay where I feel like an option." The words struck deeper than accusation ever could. Arjun stepped closer. "You think I touched her?" he asked, his voice tight. "You think I would?" "I don't care," Ananya interrupted softly. That finally made him stop. "I care," she continued, turning to face him now, her eyes steady but wounded. "That I don't know where I stand with you." Silence filled the room, thick with everything he hadn't said. "You didn't even ask," he said finally. "You just believed a rumor." She shook her head slowly. "No," she replied. "I believed the distance." That truth landed painfully. Arjun ran a hand through his hair, frustration giving way to something rawer. "She's my past," he said. "You are my present." "But am I your choice?" Ananya asked quietly. The question lingered, unanswered. She zipped the bag shut, not angrily, but decisively. "I won't compete," she said. "For attention, for clarity, for love." Arjun watched her, helpless in a way he had never been before, because for the first time, He realized silence was costing him more than words ever had. Ananya did not leave the mansion, but she withdrew from it. She moved into the guest room at the far end of the corridor, a space rarely used where the windows faced the older wing of the estate, and the walls held the cool silence of neglect. The door closed softly behind her, not in anger, but in finality. That sound echoed in Arjun's chest, far longer than it should have. He stood outside the room long after she disappeared inside, staring at the closed door as if it were a decision he could still undo. The hallway lights dimmed automatically as the hour grew late, shadows stretching along the walls like unspoken truths. He had silenced boardrooms, broken men with words, yet this quiet distance undid him. Hours passed, the mansion slept. Arjun remained where he was, his back against the wall opposite her door, suit jacket discarded, tie loosened, the weight of the day pressing down on him in ways no negotiation ever had. Finally he spoke. "I never slept with her." His voice was low, rough, not meant to carry, but it did. The words slipped under the door, honest and unguarded. Silence answered him. "I didn't even think about her," he continued, his forehead resting briefly against the cool wood. "She was history, habit, comfort." His throat tightened. "You were never meant to replace anyone," he said quietly. "You became something else." Still no response. Arjun closed his eyes. "I don't know when it happened," he admitted. "Somewhere between your silence and your strength, you became home." The confession left him exposed in a way that terrified him. Inside the room, Ananya stood frozen near the window, arms wrapped tightly around herself. Tears blurred the city lights beyond the glass, but she did not wipe them away. She opened the door slowly. Arjun straightened immediately, the shift almost instinctive, but his eyes gave him away, red-rimmed, exhausted, bare. She looked at him for a long moment. "Don't say things you can't stand by," she whispered. He stepped closer, carefully, as though she might vanish if he moved too quickly. "I've never meant anything more," he said, "and I've never been more afraid of losing it." Her breath trembled. "You don't know how to love without control," she said softly. "I know," he replied, "but I'm learning." She hesitated, then rested her forehead against his chest. Just that. No embrace, no forgiveness spoken. But Arjun closed his eyes as the weight of her settled there, fragile and trusting. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel powerful. He felt human. And he held her, not as a man who owned, but as a man who finally understood what he could lose. The storm arrived without warning. Thunder rolled across the sky, low and distant at first, then louder, closer. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the city into streaks of silver and shadow. The mansion, usually so vast and impersonal, felt smaller now, as though the weather had drawn its walls inward. Ananya still stood with her forehead against Arjun's chest. She could hear his heartbeat, uneven, unguarded. The steady rise and fall of his breath grounded her in a way she hadn't expected. For months she had existed in restraint, in quiet endurance. Now everything felt exposed. Arjun didn't move. He didn't wrap his arms around her, didn't claim the moment. He simply stayed. That somehow mattered more. Slowly, Ananya lifted her head. Her eyes met his, dark, searching, stripped of pretense. There was no command in his gaze now, no expectation, only a question. He raised his hand halfway, then stopped, hovering near her cheek, waiting. "If you don't want this," he said quietly, "I'll step back." Her throat tightened. She shook her head once, just once. That was all the permission he needed. His fingers brushed her cheek, tentative, reverent. like he was learning a language he'd never been taught. Her skin warmed beneath his touch, and she inhaled sharply, the sound barely audible over the rain. He leaned in slowly, so slowly she could have stopped him at any moment. Their lips met, not with hunger, not with urgency, but with something far more dangerous: need. The kiss was soft at first, exploratory. A question answered with another question. When her hand lifted instinctively to grip the front of his shirt, his breath hitched, but he didn't deepen it, not yet. He pulled back just enough to rest his forehead against hers. "This changes things," she whispered. "Yes," he replied without hesitation. "And I'm done pretending I don't want that." He kissed her again, deeper now, still controlled, still careful. It was a promise more than a surrender. When they finally parted, both were breathless, foreheads touching, rain drumming against the glass like a heartbeat. Ananya closed her eyes briefly. "Promise me something," she said softly. "Anything." "Don't love me halfway," she murmured. "And don't try to own what you can't protect gently." Arjun swallowed. "I don't want to own you," he said. "I want to choose you every day." She believed him, not because of the kiss, but because of the restraint that followed it. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, something had shifted, quietly, permanently. They didn't say love yet, but they both knew. There was no going back.